Hello, everybody, and thank you for coming out and listening to the Real Short Box Live. My name is Donald, and the gentleman right here to my right is... You don't know which one you are, do you?
I don't know who's who.
It's you, Kevin. And then,
Yes, my name is Supreme Chancellor Dr. Kevin.
and then right next to Kevin on the other side, we've got Kevin sandwiched, actually.
Hi, I'm Jared, the Fool Killer. I kill people. I kill fools. I don't pity them. I kill them. I'm hardcore.
Oh, you don't pick.
You're also
That's
you're
bad.
also the descendant of the great classic actor from the 1930s, 1940s, Clark Gable. Is that true, sir?
That's right. I'm Clark Gable. Well, we're very loosely related. As in, I'm just imagining it.
Aw. I always liked the idea that you guys were directly related.
Well, then we are.
Why not?
We can make up anything we want these days. It doesn't matter.
Okay.
We absolutely can. I don't see why not.
No one's stopping him.
Okay, we're going public on this, and then I'm going to be sharing the link here momentarily, gentlemen.
All right.
I sold my Ultimate Fallout 4, by the way, the first Miles Morales for.
Did you earn $5,000, sir, for that?
I got 800,000 actually.
Now that is enough for you to buy a new home or put all your children through college easily.
Because I said it was newsstand, and I said it was taken out of the plastic by Stan Lee. In red.
So there's evidence
Well done.
of his fingerprints on those books.
Right.
Mm.
So CGC is authenticating the fingerprints as we speak. They are authentic. I didn't get them legally, but I got them.
That's a beautiful thing. I also heard you have the blood of some famous celebrity in your home, too, for some reason. I don't know how you got a hold of it, but there's a rumor that you have a vial of blood of some famous actor.
Yeah, Ashton Kutcher.
Oh, my goodness.
My favorite actor.
That's
Interesting. That's a very interesting choice.
Love my Ashton Kutcher. What he did on that show, Punk'd.
Oh, God, I forgot all about that show. That was a thing, wasn't it?
Punk'd?
Punk'd?
Yeah. Well, what was that other Dax Shepard guy that got his start on that show?
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
He did, and he married Kristen Bell.
Yeah. See, that's what happens if you work with Ashton Kutcher.
He hooks you up, huh?
You get to marry Veronica Mars.
Ooh.
And Anna from Frozen.
Okay, guys, I posted the link. Please let me know if you have any issues with it, but it should be on my page now.
All right. Yep, I see it on your page. All right, I will start the process of sending it to folks.
Excellent. All right, we're here to talk about diversity. It's a celebration, guys. It's a celebration of diversity. And you know what we do when we celebrate, right? We do... Hey, air horn!
Yeah!
Yeah! Party! Party! Yeah! Hey, Chris Duquet is in the house, everybody.
Oh, he's already here.
Chris Duquet has popped up. He said, hey, guys. Hey, Chris. How are you, good sir? How are you? Yes, indeed. Oh, by the way, I'm going to be selling these on eBay soon. So if anybody wants these, they're a hot commodity right now. I got these Twilight New Moon trading cards, guys.
You know, those are worth a significant amount of money.
Oh, man, look at that. Look at that. Oh, yeah. Kevin, you want to kiss Edward, don't you?
No, he was totally Team Jacob.
Oh, you were Jacob?
Batman.
Yeah, that's easy enough. There you go, Kevin.
He's going to be Batman, right?
Or you could have Kristen Stewart if you want. Ooh, Kristen Stewart. Hold me, Kevin. Hold me. No, she's mine. No, she's mine.
You're supposed to be playing Princess Diana. You know, I have to say, all these people are getting good roles now. One's playing Princess Diana, the other one's playing Batman.
Well, not Mr. Lautner. That guy's like disappeared off the face of the earth.
He did. He did one film that was like Pittsburgh based.
He's going to be Aqualad in the future.
He's going to be a terrible actor in the future. Oh, wait, he already is. Oh, boom!
Oh, wait.
Wait.
You're wrong, man.
I was like, we got to get some sound effect for that.
I got to get on that. I'm not as fast as most people, I guess. Maria's on here, everybody. Maria. She says, howdy. Howdy, Maria. Nice to see you on here.
Hello, Maria.
Yeah. All right. What? Chris Duque? What? Says he's moving to Taiwan by the end of the year?
Oh, you know what?
He's moving to Taiwan.
He was telling me something about that. He was telling me that he might go there to. I think he wants to go and teach or something like that. I think he said he wanted to go and to get a teacher's program.
Oh, cool. Taiwan is a very interesting country.
And a good friend of ours, old friend of ours, is from there, if I recall. From the ArcLight days.
Go on.
Gosh. Oh my gosh, what's her name? You know, she had a great voice. She learned the language like within a couple. Like,
talking about Carly?
Yeah.
Fran Drescher?
Yeah, Fran Drescher. You imagine Fran Drescher speaking Taiwanese
with a beautiful voice.
Yeah. Or imagine her trying to do German. Ich habe nun keine Idee. Yeah. Oh God, no.
It'd be great, wouldn't it?
No, it'd be pretty awful.
You watch it.
Oh, he says, I learned to speak Chinese over the last few years, and I'll be working with a booking agency for performing music.
Now, is that Mandarin or Cantonese?
Well, actually, he can with the knees, so I don't know. That was really bad. Ooh, I'm sorry.
I just can't. Knees.
Yeah, that's just as bad. We both apologize.
Better than a Mandarin orange joke.
He says that's true. He says, I'll be a vocalist for them. I was there this past March, and I got to audition for them and perform at one of their shows.
Oh, nice.
One of their shows? Whose shows, Chris? What's going on? Enrique! Hey, buddy. Enrique's popped on. He says, hey, guys.
Hey, what's up, Enrique?
Chris says Mandarin, Kevin.
Okay, excellent.
He's either telling us that's the language he's learning to speak, or he is the actual villain in the Iron Man comic books, which is possible. It's possible.
Hey, it's a cool villain, right?
I mean, they gave it to Guy Pearce, right? I guess.
Guy Pearce?
They tried. Yeah, remember? Like, Guy Pearce was kind of like supposed to be the Mandarin or some shit.
Well, he was the bad guy in 3. No, that was 3.
Extremis.
Yeah, that was 3.
He was a character in Extremis. He was the guy behind the Mandarin.
Yeah. Awful. Awful.
You don't need to tell me that.
Or awful.
I purposely did not see that film.
But you know what's funny about that, fellas? I'd rather watch Iron Man 3 again than watch The Last Jedi. And that says a whole lot.
I'm with you on that.
You know how big of a Star Wars fan I am, too.
Yeah. I do. I do know how big of a Star Wars fan you are. Anyway, speaking of Star Wars they have comic books of Star Wars series, and we're here to talk about comic books, and we're here to talk about diversity. Now, if we want to open the door, since we're discussing Star Wars, we had quite a few new diverse characters enter into the new universe of Star Wars. We had Finn, we had Poe, and we had Rose. All of a different ethnic background, creating a rich, diverse tapestry within the Star Wars universe.
That's true.
Yeah, because we kept getting attached to Star Wars.
Get Poe Dameron.
So Chris says, the booking agency books shows for their roster of musicians. They booked a show for my buddy who lives out there, and they call me up to sing a few songs with the band. Wow, that's so cool, Chris. Congratulations, buddy. I hope it goes really, really well for you. And I'm prone to visiting people in other countries. I'm just throwing that out there.
That's true. You've already visited 3 continents, right?
Yes, I've been traveling lately. And unfortunately, this year was going to be another travel year. It's been waylaid, so I'm eager to do it.
Why? What happened?
I ran out of toilet paper.
Oh.
Yeah.
Jared, isn't it true that you visited 22 countries over the last several years, sir?
I don't even leave my backyard.
Oh,
I've got a
man.
whole tribe of people I'd have to take with me.
Wow, Chris
Oh.
says he'll even be learning songs in Chinese and Mandarin to be
beautiful.
singing them.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah, that's really cool, Chris. Really, really cool, man. So Star Wars, a real quick thing. As far as the diverse characters and stuff, I think it's always kind of been, in a way, diverse. See, the way I look at it is we have a lot of aliens in Star Wars. Those are all different races, you know? So, there's some green people, some blue people. There's little marmots walking around. There's...
And to comment on the
droids.
diversity, the cool thing, at least about the original trilogy, was aliens had their own kind of speak. Like, it didn't sound familiar. It sounded alien.
Right.
And then you went to the prequels where they went really, really south and went with, like, the horribly stereotypical voices, like for the Trade Federation guys.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
And Watto and, like, what? Yeah, I mean,
Jar Jar Binks.
yeah. I don't know why that happened. Who dropped the ball on that one?
I don't know.
I mean, Admiral Akbar spoke a very interesting form of dialect of English. You know.
Right. That's what I'm saying. Having like an accent, but it was like its own accent. Kind of
Yeah,
thing.
it was.
Was anybody else offended that the guy that did the voice of Jar Jar was a black man?
That's right.
It wasn't actually one of those creatures?
That's right. He was a real Gungan.
Yeah,
A real
Gungan. And then
I
didn't
wanna
they make a
block
song
all
called
the
Gangnam
movies.
Style? I'm sure they didn't even ask for his permission. Terrible. It's terrible, guys. Terrible. Chris says, please come visit. All of you guys, please come visit. Chris, I'm going to be honest.
Going to be in Taipei.
Unless you're paying Kevin, he ain't going nowhere. But I will. I'll do it. Kevin ain't going to do it. Kevin ain't going to leave the country. Kevin's
How
going
dare
to...
you? I have a passport. Come on, I have a passport.
Have you used it?
Yes, that's true. I haven't used it yet.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Mm-hmm.
Jared has at least used his 22 times, so, you know.
Yeah,
Right.
but
I've
Tijuana
gone
doesn't
to-
count, Jared, just for
I've
donkey
gone to
shows.
Tijuana 22 times.
Hee-haw, hee-haw. All right, so let's kind of dive into it, guys. We want to talk about comic books. We want to talk about diversity, the rich tapestry of comic books. Now, comic books have let's be honest, when they first came out, comic books were pretty white. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, comic books came out around the late 30s. And that's pretty close to where we had some wars going on.
Yeah, you're very close to World War II.
Right. We had a war with Germany, with
Japan, Italy for a bit.
Even Russia for a slight moment. Yeah, Italy as well. So we had a lot of caricatures created. And this was done to demonize other
Propaganda purposes,
other cultures, other ethnicities. Right, propaganda to say that, you know, and this is why I think it's so important. I collect a lot of this memorabilia in comic books. Particularly, for example, like I'm a huge Airboy fan. And I didn't know anything about Airboy in the olden days. I only knew about Airboy that came out in the 80s from Eclipse Comics when I bought them. And I love the series. Great stories, great characters. What I didn't know was it was based off a lot of stuff that happened during World War II and characters from World War II from the 40s when the comic books came out. Now, there was a lot of covers that were very, what would be now considered taboo. And I think it's important for us to acknowledge that and to preserve that. I don't think that hiding these kinds of things is what we need to do.
Right.
Looking at these and learning from these is important.
That's right. Just like the EC books of the 50s. You know, a lot of people were offended by those horror covers.
Yes, taking those books, those horror books, and Kevin, you're a great example for this because you've read a considerable amount, and you told me, and I remember this very well, that what a lot of the adults didn't understand was there was a lesson to be learned in all of this with the horror comics, with the EC books. If you do something wrong, you're going to get punished. You're never going to get away with it. Right.
Yep, there's always a comeuppance.
Right, exactly. So while it was violent and graphic, it was telling you a story and giving you a lesson at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not the best way to go about it, I guess, if you think about it for younger children, but for teenagers,
made sense.
Yeah.
There's also the classical definition of don't judge a book by its cover.
Right. So I'm going to throw out a question to the audience. Anybody that's watching right now, that's listening to us, watching us, if anybody has somebody that they know, a character that is very diverse in their origin. For example, like I don't know, like the Blue Marvel, which is a Marvel comic books character that came out in the 2000s, right? Like 2006 or 7 or something like that.
Yeah, around that.
Relatively recently, that created a very prominent African American character.
Basically like a Superman.
Right, kind of like a Superman. Kind of a Superman mixed with almost with a, I want to say like a Ted Kord, really. Not with his quirky sense of humor, but with his intelligence. Mm-hmm. Or like an elongated man. Maybe a fantastic, Mr. Fantastic kind of thing.
Reed Richards thing.
Okay. Yeah, Reed Richards thing. He's very high on intelligence, but very powerful, very strong. So I'm going to throw a question out to the audience that's listening. And you don't have to answer right now if you don't want to. You can take a moment. But who is a character, or what is a character that you know of that you want to mention that is diverse, that's ethnically diverse, or just from another planet, another species, anything that's not your basic average Anglo-Saxon,
or even
me.
Even maybe represents a group that was completely underrepresented in comics.
Right. And we've got one already. And Enrique, that is an amazing choice, my friend. I'm so glad you brought that up. He brought up the wonderful character of Icon.
Oh, there we go. From Milestone.
Yeah.
Milestone Comics. Now, DC Comics, I don't feel DC knows what the hell they're doing with Milestone. They just haven't quite figured it out.
They integrated it into the main universe, right?
Yes.
But then
they haven't done really anything since.
Yeah.
Icon is an amazing character. What was the other one? It was Hardwire, I believe, was the other one?
Hardwire, Blood Syndicate.
Blood Syndicate.
Static Shock.
Right, Static Shock. Static Shock's probably the most popular of the bunch. Surprisingly, Icon made his way into the Justice League cartoon series.
Yeah.
Him and his sidekick.
Rocket,
yeah. Hardware, yes, thank you, Enrique.
Books were really good, too. I think it was all, what was it, Dwayne McDuffie at the time?
Yeah, Hardware actually was one of my favorites when it came out.
Hardware was great,
I love that. I love that series. It was really well done, and I was sad to see it go when it did, and I'm sad that they never really brought him back,
Yeah.
They keep bringing back Static Shock, and that's great, but Static Shock to me is like Little Black Lightning.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he's like Black Lightning.
Yeah. And there's been some arguments actually into the controversy. There's been a controversy about putting the word black in front of a hero's name who happens to be African American.
Really?
Like, for example, Black Panther. People are like, why couldn't you just call him the Panther?
Right.
Why did he have to be called Black Panther?
Well, for one thing, there really is a creature or an animal, and I guys got to be careful. There is an animal called the Black Panther, so it's just, we can relate to it.
Right.
Basically has the reflexes, has some of the abilities of a Black Panther. And I know some people probably even mixed it up with the political group, which, as well, which wasn't the case.
Kevin, you would be able to chime in more than me, but from what I've seen in recent events, and I have to say I agree with it, people are kind of now or people of color, I should say, are now veering more towards saying a black man, a black woman, a black character, because not everybody is of African American descent. There's many. Your skin
Exactly.
could be black. You could have many different cultures. And to me, it's
Absolutely.
also celebrating the
diversity of it. Precisely.
You know, I never understood the terminology for calling someone a black man or a black woman, because you would have to be the color black. Black is, you know, dark. It's the absence of light, you know?
Right.
Black people are not absent of light. They're more brown,
like
you know?
Like even me. If you want to get literal, I'm dark brown for all intents and
Right.
purposes. I'm not
So
black,
it's
you know,
just
black
hard.
night, so to speak.
It's hard to define a color based on a person. When you call me a white man, I'm like, I'm not really white. You know, here's like,
White paper.
there's like a white sheet of paper next to me. This is not what I look like. I'm more like a cream-colored man.
What these are is just in society, people just have to find an easy way to identify people. So I'll just say white, black, brown, red, and that's kind of the problem, unfortunately. You know, instead of just obviously being human beings or just getting more literal, like, hey, I'm of European descent, African descent, Asian descent, Latin descent, something like that. We got to make it easier. Oh, it's a white guy or a black guy or a yellow guy.
Context too. I mean, if it's like, oh yeah, he's just a stupid little brown guy or a stupid white guy, you know, where if you're saying like, my friend who's black had to deal with this certain situation or something like that, you know, it explains a whole lot more.
Sometimes more contextual.
If it's unnecessary, then yeah.
We've got a couple comments here. Actually, they're rolling in. Arm Fall Off Boy has stated Green Lantern, so I think he's talking about probably Jon Stewart, but it could also
be Simon Baz. Who knows?
Simon Baz
or Cruz
or Jessica Cruz.
Jessica Cruz.
Or even it could be Zat, which was a fly. It could be Jarrett. You just got me the first appearance of Gnort, I believe.
Gnort?
Is that the squirrel?
No, he was a dog. He was a dog.
Oh, it's a dog.
A dog, Green Lantern. Actually, Maria, I think you would love some of the 80s and 90s, late 80s, early 90s Green Lantern Corps books, because they do have Gnort in there, and he's a dog Green Lantern. So instead of it being Hal Jordan or Kyle or, you know, Jon Stewart or something, there's one about a fly that's a Green Lantern. There's one about a virus that's a Green Lantern. It's very diverse. I think Green Lantern Corps is the most diverse comic book you will find ever in the existence of comic books. If we're talking,
one of my favorite Green Lanterns. I love Mogo.
You love what? Mogo, the planet. Yeah, the living planet.
The planet.
I love Mogo too.
The planet looks like a giant pool ball.
Yeah. Maria actually mentioned Saga, which is about an interracial couple. It's about a planet of individuals and then creatures or individuals that then live on the moon that is floating around that planet, and they're warring. So it's a Romeo and Juliet type thing, where these two very different cultures, very different individual creatures, aliens, you might as well say, from different, you know, from a planet and a moon, fell hopelessly in love and created a child that is extremely illegal, and they went on the run together to.
And the story's kind of told from that baby's perspective, or at least from when they're older.
Right.
You know?
Yep.
Kind of like the Wonder Years in a way.
Yes. Yes.
Well,
very good.
Gentlemen, shall we get into some of the characters we wanted to discuss?
I'm trying, but we got another comment here. Let's roll with this real quick. Enrique says Black Lightning, and Enrique, you're 100% right. Black Lightning is a great comic book. It's also it's a great TV series if you haven't been watching. You know how Luke Cage, when they would have that stage when it was who was it? It was Cottonmouth.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Cottonmouth. Yeah.
When he owned the club, and then they would like put an entertainer in there, and then that entertainer would actually play his music during the show, and it was really cool.
That's where I first saw what's his name? That guy.
Charles Bradley.
Charles Bradley, so good.
Oh man,
yeah,
great music. Great music.
I was extremely fortunate to get to see him play live before he had passed, about a year or so before he passed, which is very sad, very sad. And if you haven't watched that documentary, it's available on Hulu. It's about Charles Bradley. It's very good. Don't ask me the name because it's not the Charles Bradley documentary, and I can't remember the title offhand right now.
Maybe Google it.
But Black Lightning, Enrique does comment. He says, great show, awesome soundtrack. Enrique, 100%. Black Lightning is a great show with an incredible soundtrack. I think it's only improved over time. The music that they put out, I'm excited to watch each episode just for the music alone. Sometimes I don't even care about the story. I just want to hear what they play.
I started that on Netflix, and it was really good, but I totally it just got lost in the shuffle of a billion other shows. But yeah. I think I definitely want to go back to that.
Absolutely, you have to. Particularly because I believe he joins into the DC television universe in the Crisis on Infinite Earths, if I recall.
Right.
He does make his debut in there. But anyway, yeah, let's dive into it. Who would like to go first as far as, like, we each brought up a few characters, characters that we thought would celebrate and showcase the diversity of what comic books has to really offer when they're offering good quality content.
Well, I know one of us did John Stewart, right? Green Lantern.
Oh yeah, that'd be me. I mean, John Stewart. I guess we can say, as far as the Earth Lanterns are concerned, I believe he was the third Earth Lantern that was introduced into the comics after, of course, Hal Jordan and Guy Gardner in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing about him I find interesting, he's a man from the military, someone a little more serious, but at the same time he's very intelligent, with what his constructs look like, his Green Lantern constructs, and he's also an architect, if I recall.
Yes,
which
is what went into his constructs. He was
his
very
constructs.
Yeah.
Much like Kyle being the artist, that would come from that type of that type of intelligence. But he's loyal to the core. He's had his issues and everything, but he's someone we can look up to. He's a man who's a leader. And he leads by example. He's had his issues, but again, he's like a man who's led by example, and he's been a good friend to the other guys, to Hal and to Kyle and to Guy, and he's well respected.
Would you say his popularity really peaked and grew once they had him as the main Green Lantern on the Justice League show?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
He got so much exposure. No one cared about John Stewart. I mean, don't get me wrong, a few people did, but really no one... I mean, who in the mainstream knows who Guy Gardner is right now?
Right, yeah.
Nobody.
Not many.
Or Kyle.
Yeah.
Nobody. Kyle Rayner, nobody gives a shit. But John Stewart, they know. Hal Jordan, they know.
Hence the rumor the new Green Lantern movie is supposed to have the two of them together.
That's fine. That'd be great. I will say John Stewart, the way they did him in the animated series is much better because they played him a little hard-nosed, a little military, but a little cheeky too. And I think that was important to show that he had that little cheeky side. Because otherwise, he's just a military man that's hard-nosed and that's boring. No one wants that.
Well, one of my favorite episodes of the first season was when they did the focus on him being tried for some kind of crime obviously it was a misunderstanding, but I remember they had this really cool music. They showed him in his own neighborhood, which was a predominantly black neighborhood, and it was just him going around and like just being like, they almost made him like Shaft. He was just like solving every little problem there and stuff like that. But it was like such that they really made a well-crafted character, like a really full character with him in that show.
And it was McDuffie that wrote a lot of that, correct? Dwayne McDuffie?
Yeah.
Who happens to be a black man himself, or had been. He passed a little while ago, sadly. Very, very young, too. I believe he was in his late 40s or early 50s when he passed.
Something like that. But super prolific for his time, though. I mean.
Oh, yeah. I mean, to help create the Milestone universe, to go on and write for the Justice League television cartoon series, to write for the actual Justice League series, that's a pretty great accomplishment. I mean, when I go, people are going to go, hey, that guy, that loser that lived in that apartment, he collected a lot of comic books, and there's a bunch of shit in there. Do you want to clear that out? That's going to be it. And then somebody will find my costume of Blue Beetle and be like, what fetish shit is this? And then they'll burn it. That's it. Right. Yeah, that's it. So John Stewart, great choice, Kevin. Great choice. Great character. Phil Lamar, Phil Lamar did the voice of John Stewart, correct?
That's
Phil
right.
Lamar did the voice so wow, God, it's so great.
Samurai Jack as well, did he not?
Actor. Classic voice actor right there.
Also an
Did he also
alumni
do
of
Martian Manhunter?
what's that?
I think he also did John Jones.
I believe you're correct. He probably did. He's also an alumni of Mad TV.
That's
There you
right.
go.
For those that don't remember, he did the spastic UPS delivery guy.
And he's the guy who got shot in the face in Pulp Fiction in the back of the truck.
You're right. He was. He absolutely was. Yeah.
Yeah.
He was in there when they were when they went into the apartment and killed those other guys. Yep. You're right.
Do you think that God just he shot him in the face?
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so Jared, do you want to do the next one?
Yeah, I'll go. The character I chose is Mr. Jean-Paul Bobier, the French-Canadian and mutant, also known as North Star.
There we go.
North Star was from the team Alpha Flight, the Canadian. I say this, the Canadian sponsored team. Like it just sounds funny, but yeah, Canadian team debuted in X-Men 120, created by Chris Claremont and John Byrne during their epic X-Men run. Why I chose this character is he was one of the first openly gay characters in American comic books. I think definitely the first openly gay character in Marvel Comics. He eventually, and I'll get into it a little bit more, but he would eventually, within the comics, marry his husband, Kyle Jinadu, which was the first depiction of a same-sex marriage in mainstream comics.
Very important.
Background on him. Now, his power, if you want to know, is like super speed. He can fly super fast. He kind of cheats in his daily life because he's like a skier, like a professional skier. So he could obviously use his mutant power to like propel himself. He's got a twin sister, Aurora, who if they, I think, join hands together, they can like shoot out like energy and stuff like that. So always a cool looking.
Almost like a Wonder Twin powers activate.
Totally, and they kind of look like the Wonder Twin. So John Byrne and Claremont Byrne got to do the Alpha Flight solo series, and now he said he was kind of reluctant when he was doing it because he was honest. He was like, we didn't really flesh out those characters; they were just a cool team to fight the X-Men. So he, from the get-go, and this is probably in the early '83 when Alpha Flight debuted, wanted to make the character gay. Like he just wanted to make him like that was a plan from the get-go, and it wasn't to like make it overt. It was just to like he's gay. There was let's see. So it says his sexuality was subtly introduced. Although Byrne had intended the character to be gay, he was restricted to implied hints of this fact due to Marvel editor-in-chief Jim Shooter's policy against openly homosexual characters. So this is '83. That's some kind of hardcore homophobia coming from the Marvel editor-in-chief, and to play devil's advocate, I'm sure it was like the comics code were like, you can't do that, because that wasn't acceptable, which was obviously bullshit. Right. And so they would do subtle references to it. So in Alpha Flight 18, when North Star's residence is called by Heather Hudson, who is one of the team leaders, Vindicator, a half-naked man in swim trunks who had been swimming with North Star answers the phone. So they would do these things of like, the audience put it together. But they didn't fully embrace it until, what was it? So first they wanted to, in Alpha Flight 106, Scott Lobdell finally got the go-ahead to have the character say, I'm gay, which was the first time he was coming out. What I remember is there was the controversy, which I'm glad they squashed. Writer Bill Mantlo wanted to make the character have AIDS. So he was going to be like, I'm gay and I have AIDS.
Wow. So that's real stereotypical. Which
is completely terrible. Like, on one end, yeah, you're confronting something like AIDS, which wasn't probably confronted in the comics. But at the same time, you're making the one character who comes out as openly gay
has AIDS.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
did you notice the big problem? Like, and I guess it's not so much a problem because Judd Winnick, who's a writer, he was on MTV, The Real World.
The Real World, yep.
And he wrote a graphic novel. My friend Pedro, I believe.
Pedro.
Yeah.
Who was a cast member who died of AIDS.
Yep. So multiple times when Judd Winnick was writing a comic book series, he would introduce a gay character.
Yes.
And I can't remember if it was more than one occasion, but at least once, the female Speedy, he gave her AIDS. Said that she had, had AIDS in the comic book.
Vaguely remember.
He always tried to make that very prevalent, and I appreciate that in a way, but it's depressing.
Yeah.
You know, when someone has AIDS, it's sad. It's not a celebration, and we're in a comic book, which is a form of escapism, so it's a fine line you have to draw there when you're telling a story.
Addressing it, but then there's also like, why not just show, and this is what we've been talking about for years now as far as representation, why not just show a guy who's a superhero who is also, yes, he's gay, but so what? Like that, like, which is what, so sadly, once he came out as gay, they were like, yeah, we did it, we're great. And then they never addressed it again. So they kind of were like, look, we covered that, we're bold, but they never even touched it for like years within the series.
In other words, kind of like
later, they killed him, like they kill a million people. He came back, luckily, but he came back.
He didn't come back and go, "I'm straight now," right?
No, thank God.
Okay.
You know what? You have the opposite version. I'm glad you brought that up, Donald. Alan Scott was always a straight character. When he did New 52, all of a sudden he's a gay character. Wait a minute, what happened to his two children?
They did. Yeah, that is a controversial move. You have to look at it that way too, because Alan Scott was created in the what, 30s? Late 30s? Late
30s, at least 40, yeah.
Yeah, 39 or 40, somewhere around there. Alan Scott was created. He was the first Green Lantern ever in existence. Now, every Green Lantern has, or had, up to I believe Kyle, had a weakness to the color yellow, which is weird. But prior to that, Alan Scott had a weakness to wood.
Yeah,
really
which is really interesting that they then made him a gay character, because then he does have a weakness to wood.
Or a preference for it. So
anyway, but, you know, it did make it an interesting thing, because basically what they did was they did not go any further into the character to say, hey, he's gay and he adopted these children and they happen to be superheroes as well. Or he used a sperm, they in vitroed into a surrogate, and this lady gave birth, and now the kids have powers, which would be incredibly interesting, by the way, because you'd wonder, did the kids get the powers from the father, or did the mother maybe have powers as well, and we were not made aware? And who was this mother, and where did she come from? They could have gotten into it so deep and created such an intricate, great story there, but instead they just decided to go, here's Alan Scott, he's gay, here's his lover's dead now, Alan Scott's still gay, he doesn't have children, that's it. Let's just erase all this past history, let's erase these great characters, Jade and Obsidian, who were his kids, and let's just keep moving forward with that.
Who Obsidian was gay in the Jeff Johns JSA run.
Yes, yeah. Which was fine, you know, it's fine. As long as they're able to...
No, but that wasn't like a retcon thing. That was just the character was gay. Like,
right, yeah, straight up. That's it, I'm gay.
Yeah.
And that was it. Oh, Bill's on here. He says, Method Man's super sperm. Let me highlight that. I'm going to bring that up, Bill, so everybody can see it.
That's funny.
Method Man's super sperm. Okay, great. Yes, Method Man's super sperm.
Now, one story that did that, you know, correctly, of a character that happened to be gay, or in this case, lesbian, Batwoman. That was done correctly. It was part of her character. It was in the storyline. She had, you know, her girlfriend in the story, so that was like, it was already in there.
Yep.
It was part of the fabric of the story.
Janet thought it was funny that he had a weakness to wood. Thank you, Janet. Yeah. Arm Fall Off Boy has a comment. He says, or Alan Scott came out later in life and had already had a wife and kids before coming out.
I was just going to say.
Also makes sense.
You know what? That's realistic. That's realistic.
There's so many avenues they could have taken, but they didn't do it, is the problem. And I think it was James Robinson that decided to do that, right? Because he fell into that controversy. James Robinson wrote an Airboy comic, and inside the Airboy comic, he did a bunch of coke, and he talked about how all of his good writing was earlier in his career. I can't argue with that.
Yeah, I can't argue that.
Sorry, James Robinson. I mean, like, you shit the bed on a lot of stuff in your later life here. You had some good stuff. The Golden Age was amazing, by the way. Amazing.
Great. Starman,
great. Probably some of the best. I would say the seminal Starman stories. If you do not have James Robinson's Starman run, which I believe is like a 70 to 75 issue run, you are missing out, guys. You are missing out on an amazing piece, an amazing tapestry of stories that just coalesce into something that just gels into something amazing. So definitely check that out if you have yet to do so.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with one here. Let me pick one out real quick here. Let's see here. Dude, boy, so many choices. I'm going to go with, Jesus, such a small picture, guys. I'm sorry. Tiny.
You're going with Jesus?
Yeah, I'm going to go with Jesus. No, if you can see the picture, I'm so sorry it's so small. It is Barbara Gordon in a wheelchair. It is Oracle. Now, we can't do diversity without talking about people that are handy-capable, that are able to overcome adversity, overcome difficulties within their life. Barbara Gordon was essentially, she was shot through I believe it was the gut, right? By the Joker at her door, and the bullet went into her spine, embedded in her spine, and paralyzed her from the waist down. Killing her ability to be Batgirl.
Yeah, traditional crime.
And we were just talking about Batwoman. So she could no longer be Batgirl. So, instead of resting on her laurels or, pity-partying herself for too long, she got back into fighting shape as far as from the waist up, got her arms all ripped and whatever, got in good physical condition. More importantly, she got in good mental condition. And she took a lot of time to take care of herself. Taking time off to take care of one's mental needs is extremely important, guys, and I can't stress that enough. If you're not doing it, if people out there are listening are not doing that, you need to take some time for yourself. Take a day, take a me day, take a long bath, shut the lights off, play a little music, light a candle. Guys, you can do it too. It's not feminine. It's very relaxing. You'll enjoy it. Put a glass of scotch by it if you want to make it a little more masculine. That's fine. Whatever you want.
What about light a candle?
You could absolutely light a candle. As long as it's not lavender. If you light a lavender candle. But anyway.
Could you put like petals, like flower petals?
You can put rose petals in there.
Rose petals?
Yeah. That way when someone walks in on you, it's maybe hopefully floating around your dingus. Because let's be honest, any man that's in a tub, your dingus flapping around in the waves of the bath, it doesn't look very attractive to anybody.
But who would see it except you?
So bubbles and rose petals work well. I'm just saying if someone walks in.
Well,
like,
who would be walking in?
Kevin, I know you're a single man, but a lot of people have girlfriends and wives, so people sometimes walk in and out. Even kids at times will do this.
Whoa.
Jarrett will know this. Probably if you're in a bath or something, if you've ever taken a bath, there might be a kid running in going, I got to take a dump. And you're like,
I don't sit in my own filth.
Lock your door, Jarrett.
Shower it off.
Fair enough.
Lock the door, man.
Enrique says he was about to ask if lavender was okay. It's not.
Only rose hips.
Only
rose hips.
You can put a little cinnamon, a little rose if you want, but not lavender. Don't you dare do lavender. Lavender's for potpourri, for old men that like to take smelly dumps.
We had an amazing candle around Christmas. It was like a maple syrup.
Oh, nice.
Oh God, yeah, it was good. It was nice.
Enrique, maple syrup or bacon. That works. Maple bacon.
Bacon candle.
Anyway, Barbara Gordon, great character. Instead of lying in her own filth, so to speak, she picked herself up by the bootstraps. She's wheelchair bound, but she's an amazing woman. She's intelligent. She became the #1 network for DC comic book superheroes to connect them to each other, to tell them watch out for this guy, that bad guy's coming to this city, so on and so forth. She was a detective. She was the police. She was everything to a lot of these superheroes. If it wasn't for Oracle, I don't think Batman would be around today.
Right. Agreed.
Enrique says, hell yeah, bacon. So, yes, Enrique. I'm going to leave this comment up for a little bit because I'm going to put it right over Jared's head. So, Jared, it just now says, hell yeah, bacon, right above your head. All right. So that's my comment, my diverse character there for that one, is Oracle Barbara Gordon. Kevin, let's go back to you. Who do you have?
Another person I have is, of course, one of my favorite female characters, Aurora Monroe, Storm.
Ooh, I got a good picture for this one.
You know, debuted in Giant Size X-Men #1 back in 1975.
Super easy book to get, by the way.
Oh, absolutely. You know, it's very affordable, and you know,
it's almost as expensive as X-Men #1 now, guys.
It's so up there, yeah. I was looking at like a 4.0, 5.0, and I was like, I'll just shut my computer now because no, I can't.
Can't afford it, can you? Yeah. I could take payments or buy a car. I don't know.
Yeah.
Just ridiculous. Aura Monroe. She also she married the Black Panther, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I heard at one point that she did. Her and T'Challa were a power couple. And by the way,
that's the ultimate power couple.
That's a power couple. My goodness,
Mm-hmm.
You can't go wrong there. And you know what? From an MCU perspective, there's rumors there may be a way to introduce the X-Men, at least one of them, through the next movie. If you were to introduce Storm in one of the future Black Panther movies, that'd be interesting.
There was a rumor, and a lot of people were up in arms about it. I'm guessing because of her acting chops, they're not there, but that Beyonce was going to play her. But
really,
I've never seen Beyonce act, so I don't.
Wait, you remember Austin Powers 3? Gold member?
Oh God, yeah, then definitely no. No, definitely no. Everybody agrees Angela Bassett would have been the best Storm.
Yes.
Well, back in the 90s, that was the pick, yeah.
And they completely blew it on that.
Amazing.
And by the way, she still looks good.
Yeah.
Sorry, gents. Keep going. Keep talking about Storm. I'll be back in 1 second.
Yeah. Angela Bassett still looks good. But yeah, back in the 90s, she would have been like a great pick.
Like the quintessence. Everybody. That was like if you did your imaginary X-Men.
She was on there.
Everybody had her for Storm.
And of course, obviously, Patrick Stewart was always there for Xavier. And of course, when it was all said and done, he got the gig. And I remember at one point, supposedly Danzig was supposed to have been Wolverine, allegedly. It's like, what is that all about?
Well, because Wolverine is supposed to be like 5'3" or something.
Yeah,
like
short dude.
Danzig is like 5'3", and
that makes sense
at the time. But once again, another guy who has no acting ability, so like that I've seen. So,
well, we got lucky. I mean, Hugh Jackman, knocked it out of the park. And I was telling Donald like the other day or last night, I said, Dougray Scott, that poor guy, he was originally Wolverine, but Mission Impossible 2, thanks to John Woo, whatever was going on with that production schedule, went into overtime, and that was it. They had to recast. They couldn't wait for him.
He's like, this Wolverine thing won't go anywhere. Nobody wants to see comic book characters. Well, here's the ironic thing, though, about Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Wolverine, since his debut, was Canadian. Everybody knew he was Canadian. He was from Canada. Like, they flat out said it. He was in Canada.
He's a Canuck, yeah.
Yeah. But in the very first animated appearances of that character, twice, in a Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends, he was Australian accent. Australian accent. Then they did that one shot prior to the
X-Men. Same
Australian
thing.
again.
Mm-hmm.
Never had any connections to Australia, so that's super weird. And then how ironic is it that the guy who finally gets cast as him is an Australian? It's like
It's weird.
Some cosmic conspiracy.
Yes, definite conspiracy with Australian Wolverine.
Yeah. But Storm, she's a powerful woman, obviously, and the fact that she has one of the coolest superpowers you could ever have, the ability to control and manipulate the weather. I mean, that's insane. I mean, basically, she was considered a goddess.
Totally.
She's from Africa.
The most non-mutant power there is, really, is to control the weather. It's not really. I mean, Jean-Claude Van Damme already shut that shit down in his TV series. I don't know if you guys ever watched that. It was on Amazon Prime. If you haven't seen it, you should watch it. It's great. and there was a weather machine that they were trying to destroy the world with, basically, or hijack the world for ransom. And Jean Claude had to shut that shit down.
Well, he can do anything. He's
He
he's a real life superhero.
He can. He really can. All right, so we're done with Storm. We're gonna move on. Actually, Armfall Off Boy made a comment. He says they should just do a Storm and Gambit flick. Armfall Off Boy, should they do a Storm and Gambit together movie, you mean, or individual movies?
I think he's talking because remember when Gambit was first introduced, Storm was like a kid. She got that granny goodness, or not granny goodness, nanny, another. They made her young. Like somehow she became young and she didn't really have her full powers. They were kind of like, it was as if she was a kid again. And they actually made a really cool team. It was like they were two thieves because she had a thief background in Cairo. He was a thief, both mutants. So that would actually be cool if they explained it some way, you know.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. That's actually a really good idea. Congratulations on your script, Armfall Off Boy. Now,
right.
If you and Jarrett can just get that written, that'd be great.
I'm done.
Yeah, thank you. All right, so Jarrett, are we moving on to you?
Yeah, I was gonna do Miss Monica Rambeau, aka Captain Marvel.
There we go. The first female Captain Marvel.
The
first female Captain
only
Marvel.
Captain Marvel.
Yeah. She actually goes by, what is it? She's changed her name quite a bit, but
like Photon, I think was one of them.
Photon, Pulsar, and Spectrum. So I think she's going by Photon now. Anyway, first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man Annual 16. Pick that book up. That is heating up. Because, as you know, the character, as a kid, premiered in the Captain Marvel movie, but the adult version, played by Teyonah Parris, will be in the WandaVision show. So
nice.
I'm hoping with powers. Now, if you don't know Captain Marvel, Monica Rambeau, she's a black woman. She was originally, who was she created by? Created by Roger Stern. Now, here's the cool thing about her. When he first... So this is an interesting thing. So she was created by Roger Stern and John Romita Jr. So he originally wanted her to look like... I'm going to quote him. This is Romita talking. I just took some reference on Pam Grier. So he wanted her to look like Pam Grier originally. Because I always loved her. And at the last moment, somebody said that, well, we need to use this woman here because they thought maybe Pam Grier wasn't as good looking as the model they found. It was fine because by the time she got done by other artists, it ended up looking like a generic black character anyway. So I'm guessing what he's saying is he actually wanted her to have like a real diverse look. And instead they just went originally with just like a model look. Like she was just the model looking. I will say though, she always caught my eye as far as a kid because she did have she had like an afro in the beginning. She had a really cool costume. I think one of her black and white costume for that time for the 80s was awesome.
Yeah, that's the one I have listed right now in place of Kevin's video feed right now. There's a picture of Monica Rambeau right over him in the black and white costume.
Of course you put her above me.
So she was the cool thing about Monica Rambeau is one, she was super powerful. Like she can make her body into any form of energy. So like I was talking to Donald and Kevin the other day. We were saying, so that story that I always talk about called, I think, Under Siege, when the Masters of Evil take over the Avengers Mansion.
Yes.
The very first thing they do is get rid of Captain Marvel because they're like, she's the most powerful person, period. If she's around, yeah, we can't. So they send her to the Dark Dimension. She gets back. And even when she comes back, Baron Zemo is who is the leader of this, is like, all right, I don't care. I'm doing my thing. And she just melts his guns and it was like a toy. But the cool thing about her too is she was also the first. She was I think the second woman chair of the Avengers. She led the Avengers during Roger Stern's run, and she was the first black character to lead, black woman or male to lead the Avengers. So that to me is right there. You're Mount Rushmore as far as that goes.
Yep. Very underrated character.
Even when she still had the Captain Marvel, I think it was the Thing that said yeah, just be Captain Marvel, because he's I'm sure there's a bunch of other things out there. Don't worry about it. And even when the Captain Marvel's son, Genus Vell, became Captain Marvel, they were both using the name, and he finally said, you know what? You deserve the name more than me. And she was like, you know what? I don't want it. Like, you're the kid. You take it. I'm going to be Photon. And she changed it to Photon. But that's how badass she was. Even the son of Captain Marvel was like, you deserve it more than me. I'm nothing. It's just a super cool character. I really hope they do her justice in the WandaVision show.
And also in Captain Marvel too. Hopefully she'll be in that movie.
Yeah, she's also in the comic book series Strike Force, which, if you haven't seen, also has Angela, I believe her name is, or Angelica or something. The
Spawn character?
Yeah, the Spawn character.
Angela.
Angeline. They also have Blade in there as well. They have Wiccan, who is in a gay relationship with the Hulkling, I believe.
Yeah.
And there's one or two more characters. I know Damien Hellstorm's in there off and on. And there's Jessica Drew, Spider-Woman, as well.
That's a cool team.
It's a very cool team. The comic book is... I don't know how I feel about it. I'm only 2 or 3 issues in.
Well, that is a lot of varied personalities, so I don't know how they actually would all gel together. Like,
I don't know either. I don't think they know yet either. It's
cool on paper, but that's
right. Yep, that's how they sold it, I'm sure. But we'll see how it goes. I don't know.
Have you seen anyone cosplay as Monica Rambeau's Captain Marvel? That'd be pretty cool, especially that white and black outfit.
Not.
It's super like sewable. You do like the little flowy things and the super original costume too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, well, I'm going to move.
That's my... I don't want to go too into Monica Rambeau because I'm sure Donald and I and Kevin will probably do a character bio just on her.
Yes, we will. I'm sure we will.
She's that cool.
I'm going on my next choice here. Okay, guys, this is a good one. I'm really super stoked. I am going to go with Kong Keenan, a.k.a.
Yes.
The Asian Superman.
Right.
Oh, yes.
Yes. Sammy's here, everybody. Say hi to Sammy.
What's up, Sammy?
Hey, Sammy. Also, Enrique's comment of hell yeah bacon, Jared, is still above your head. So, enjoy that bacon. Kong Keenan, a.k.a. the basically the Chinese version of Superman. What an amazing character this guy was. He came out around 2016, and I did not know what to think of this guy at first. I was like, okay, well, maybe I'll check him out. He's a resident of Shanghai in China. He lived with his father, who's a mechanic, and when he was young, he lost his mother in a plane crash. Over the years, Keenan, as a child, he was very arrogant, selfish. He held a grudge against one of the kids that was in his school, who he deemed responsible for the death of his mother because one of his parents was one of the engineers or something that worked in the airline, and there was some faulty issues and stuff, and he's always blamed this kid. His kid's name is Lau, I believe, and I think they actually were a CEO, son of a CEO of China Southeast Airlines. So he basically would bully him and chase him down and steal his lunch money pretty much daily. It's pretty a terrible thing. And one day while he was doing that, the Blue Condor, who's a supervillain, was attacking in the city. And instead of backing down, Keenan threw a can of soda, a.k.a. Soder, which is the company that DC chose for their name for sodas, Soder, at the supervillain. And it was such a very brave act. And in China, they believe in these brave acts, these acts of bravery, of heroism. And he did such a great job that he was approached by a lady named Dr. Omen, who's of the Ministry of Self-Reliance. And she was working on a program to create a new superhero team. She wanted a Chinese Justice League. Now, if you all know, we already have the Great 10, which was created by Grant Morrison. a few years prior. And Grant Morrison created a whole team, which was led by August General and Iron, who was the leader of the group. And it was a loose translation from Chinese for the character that was leading that group. And actually, they come into this series at one point. So it's very interesting. Keenan basically is given an injection which gives him superhero-like powers. Ultimately turns him into the Chinese Superman. So they create that. They create a Wonder Woman, a Chinese Wonder Woman, who happens to be part dragon, by the way. A rotund gentleman that is extremely intelligent and actually extremely agile, that becomes instead of Batman, becomes Bat-Man, like you would Spider-Man. Batman. So we get that. Robin, by the way, is a robot that Batman created that also helps them along their way. And we do eventually get the Chinese Aquaman and so on and so forth. But what is interesting, probably the most fascinating part about Kong Keenan is that his powers are derived from his chi. And your chi is your inner energy. It's what flows throughout your body. This comic book is very Chinese. It's very Eastern in its philosophy.
Yeah, philosophical.
You must have an extremely high amount of chi. The stronger your chi, the more life force you have in your body, essentially. So, 90-year-old Chinese woman that's still going out and going jogging every day, her chi is extremely high.
Iron Fist touched on a little bit of that.
Right. Iron Fist touched on a bit of that. Now, here's the interesting part is he has to unlock all the trigrams of his chi. Now, there are multiple different ones. I believe there are 7, if I recall. The trigram 0 would be the belly power, which is where he derives his invulnerability. His trigram number 1, which is his fist power, that's his super strength. His trigram 2 is his ear power, which is his super hearing. His trigram 3 is his body part thigh, which is, interesting enough, it's his X-ray vision. That's part 3. His trigram 4 is the foot power, which is his super speed. His 5 is his eye power, which is his heat vision. His 6 is his mouth power, which is his cold breath that he uses. And his trigram 7, the last power to unlock, is his head power, which is questionable. He's not quite sure what to do with that. And they get full into this series. I think it lasted about 30 issues, I want to say, before they canceled it. But it was... Guys, it was extremely fascinating. It was an extremely fascinating story, and I highly recommend it. I believe, if I recall, it was even written by an Asian gentleman that knew all these elements, was able to combine them with his writing and his story, all this Eastern philosophy, which I found to be amazing, to be honest. And it even brought back one of the oddest of characters, if I recall, was, what was his name? Fu Manchu. It was basically a character of Fu Manchu named Qin Lung, who was in Detective Comics #1, is where he first premiered.
Right.
And that's back in 1937.
If you recall him, it's a very controversial cover because it is extremely yellow, like Asian with sharp claws and stuff, and they all garb and stuff. And
the Fu Manchu.
Right.
Manchu,
Yes. Very, what we would say, a racist caricature right now. And what this writer was able to do, and I'm so sorry I don't remember his name right now, the writer of the series. What he was able to do was he was able to take this story, and he was able to take the character of Qin Lung and make him more dynamic and more prevalent in the current status of the character. Made him less of a caricature and more of a force of nature in a way, which was extremely fascinating. It was a really great idea in a really great series that I honestly I just couldn't recommend higher. It was
They're still around.
the series was canceled. It was actually created by the guy that created this series was Gene Lun Yang. Gene Lun Yang created the series, and with Victor Bogdanovic, who I believe is the artist on this. Not Peter. No, Victor. So it was a great comic book. If you can get it in trade, highly recommend it. Highly recommend it. One of my favorites. One of my favorite comic books in the last 5 years, hands down, easily. So anyway, I'm sorry. We'll move on. We need to roll a little bit faster with these, and I apologize.
Kevin, who you got?
Well, real quick one. I mean, obviously, I mentioned the other pair of this power couple, T'Challa himself, Black Panther. And obviously, I'm sure most of the audience is familiar with him if they've seen the movie or at least heard something about him. And the one thing the movie didn't focus on enough, I believe, was his genius level intellect. If anything, they kind of deferred and gave that over to his sister Shuri. But a lot of people don't understand he's just as intelligent as Tony Stark or Reed Richards, or in the Marvel universe, or especially the Earth characters. But what more can you want? You're the king of your country. You run your country. You have this powerful metal vibranium that's basically a part of the culture, part of the suit, your equipment. You're a master technician. You're a leader amongst the Avengers at times and other groups. I mean, it's just amazing. What more can you ask for? So he's just an awesome character to emulate.
Yeah, you can't ask for a cooler character, to be honest. Black Panther, when I was a kid, didn't care for him. I really didn't. It wasn't until I became an adult, and I mean a full-blown adult, like past I would say my mid to late 20s was my college experience when I moved out here. Because I was very straight-laced in college. I worked a full-time job. I went to college full-time. I didn't have much time for shenanigans. So when I first moved out to LA, that was total shenanigan time. Like, total shenanigan time. And it wasn't until, my late 20s, early 30s where I discovered Black Panther and the importance of the character and how cool of a character he actually was. Absolutely.
Especially if you read those first two stories, issue 52 and 53, Fantastic Four. He outwits the Fantastic Four team.
Yeah, I believe they show that even in the Marvel series, Avengers Assemble, I believe was the name of it, the animated TV series that was on. Yeah, something like that. They really showed that too, and it really, really shined. Jarrett, who do you have next?
One of my favorite superhero. Actually, these last two are my favorite. Two of my favorites. But Luke Cage, Hero for Hire.
There you go.
Do you guys know what his original name was?
Besides Power Man, or that came later?
Well, before Luke Cage was when he created that name, the character.
Mm-hmm.
His real name was Carl Lucas.
That's right.
Oh, that's right, Carl Lucas.
So I have always, I don't know, like sometimes you just see a character as a kid or something like that, and it just puts you in a happy place. Like Luke Cage has always been that for me. I always just thought he was super cool. This bright yellow costume, his tiara. I don't know. I loved it. The character was created out of kind of there was the black exploitation films that were happening in cinema. So Marvel was like, whatever's popular, they're going to do. So they did a Luke Cage character. I don't think they knew the depth the character would have and continue to have. I've been rereading his whole series from Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, to becomes Power Man.
So fun.
To Power Man and Iron Fist. Super fun. And it's just like, I will say, like, there's different writers, not like a crazy one like a Spider-Woman where there was like a new creative team every like 10 issues, but they actually really did keep a through line with that character. To this day, I would even say. It's such a cool character. He didn't come off apologetic. He was angry. He was pissed off. He was framed for a murder he didn't commit. He was in jail. He gets out of jail after the experiment they do on him. He's got his superpowers. He's going to make a living. He becomes Luke Cage, Hero for Hire, which I thought was really cool. lived in I think in Times Square on top of like an old movie theater and stuff like that, and an apartment there. He was just such a man of the people character, and I don't know. I've just always I always loved him. I really loved the early stuff because the black exploitation stuff's in like full effect. Like the main bad guy's a cop, and every time they draw him, he always looks kind of like a pig, like a little piggy. And the cool thing that I loved about Luke Cage in the beginning was it was like unapologetically black. Like he had a big afro. He was like the characters were all he was in a black neighborhood. I don't know. I've just always loved that character. I think he's just a great representation for diversity in comics, and I think he's only gotten cooler. He's been an Avenger. He's led the Thunderbolts team. He hooked up with Jessica Jones. They had a baby. Like, I really think they've I think he was super big in like the 70s, 80s, and then he kind of like I don't think people knew what to do with him for a while. And then once I think New Avengers came out and they embraced him as a big part of that team, they started to really celebrate him, and he's kind of been a mainstay since then. But yeah, I've got nothing but good things to say about Luke Cage.
Very cool character. Very cool. Again, the TV series really highlighted a lot of diverse music in the series.
Yeah.
And characters as well. So it was great to have that on Netflix.
I was kind of fascinated at the end of season 2 on where they were going for season 3 with them taking over that club.
Yeah.
I would love to have seen where that would have went. Maybe we'll see it one day when those rights are resolved, but maybe not.
Yeah. I was mad we got 3 seasons of Jessica Jones and only 2 seasons of Luke
Yes.
Cage. Come on.
Oh.
Yes, Sammy also commented that she loved the music on the show as well. Yeah.
Oh, so good. Especially that first season when they just showcased like one good performer
after another.
Yeah.
One thing that was great about that show, that club was like a character itself.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And real quickly, since we're talking about a guy that was accused of crimes he did not commit, one of my choices is I'm going to do this very fast. I'm going to do all my choices all at once, basically. I'm just going to blow my load. So, one of my choices was B.A. Baracus.
Ah, Mr. T.
Yep. Oh, I used to have that book.
And this comic right here
He's fighting the sumo, yeah.
was either the first or second comic book I've ever owned in my life. This is the comic book, the actual comic book, that my parents had on their bookshelf when I was a kid, and I would pull it off every once in a while and look at it. If you can see the drawing on the faces over here, an ink pen, because my sisters, they're stupid. I love them, but they're stupid. They drew on comic books. I don't know what else to say. Stop that, Stephanie. Stop that, Diana. Knock it off. No more drawing on comic books.
Bad.
Sammy says she liked the Jessica Jones show.
I like the first
season.
First season's great.
First season was great, but if you did not have David Tennant as the Purple Man, would it have been?
You got Nuke? Great? No, it ain't gonna do it. So my real choice then, for celebrating our diversity, guys, I'm gonna go with somebody amazing. This is one of the best characters that I think we've ever seen on
pretty white, dude.
on the printed page. This character first debuted in comic book form on a website, actually, and then premiered in a web series. And I am talking about none other than, and it's just a giant picture that you'll see here. I'm talking about none other than Black Licorice.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Wow.
I'm talking about
Incredible.
Black. Now,
I didn't know he was in a comic book.
If you look at this character here to the left of the screen, with the fist of power, and it's saying Black Licorice on it, and it's got the black veins coming down through. He's got the fedora. He's got the sunglasses. He's got the cape that makes him look almost like a vampire. I am talking about one of the best black characters that was ever created. One of the most amazing characters that happened to be co-created by none other than Kevin Green, right over here, and myself.
And also
Louis Castillo as well. Yes, absolutely. I was getting to that. Kevin and I generated this idea. And
it was meant to be a joke originally, too, when we were at Comic-Con.
It was an extreme joke, and then we threw this crazy idea over to an amazing artist, Louis Castillo, who basically just took the ball and ran with it. He went, okay, I can create this guy, and created the comic book form of this character that is so endearing. If you guys, I don't know if anybody knows, but I created a web series called The Blue Beetle Ted Cord Returns.
Never heard of it.
Never heard of him. Okay, when I know. And it lasted for 4 seasons. It just ended last month. It was a very teary-eyed, very emotional moment for me to see the end of something that I worked for 8 years on so hard and for so long with 4 seasons. And Kevin's story arc, basically the Black Licorice's story arc, because Kevin played Black Licorice in the web series, is that originally the character's name was Black Thunder. Now, actually, before that, it was Black Thunder, and before that, the character's name was Black Thunder, but he was a protector of the people. He was the guy to go to. He was the Luke Cage of the black community. And lo and behold, Black Lightning comes in. And Black Lightning's the new cool cat on the street. You know, Lightning is so cool and so happening. So guess what? Lightning stole his thunder.
Ooh.
Right? So Black Lightning stole Black Thunder's thunder. And Black Thunder really didn't know what to do, so he became Black Licorice. And when he became Black Licorice, it felt like a downgrade to him. He didn't feel like he was as powerful as a character. So eventually he just kind of languilesced and went into retirement. And it took the egging on of Ted Cord, the Blue Beetle, and Hypnotica, a.k.a. Dr. Hypnovert, to get him to go, you know, Black Lightning's okay. Black Thunder was really cool, but you know what's the best? Black Licorice. And he saw the potential within himself and the ability to use the power of Black Licorice to defeat his enemies. Because let's be honest, who likes Black Licorice as far as like a weapon
Very few.
or food, anything?
Was his catchphrase, it's an acquired taste?
It was actually, it's licorice time.
You know, I did get the blessing from Henry Cavill and Stephen Dorff. Remember how I was wearing that costume originally, and when I had that signing for the Immortals movie, I was the only person wearing a costume. So when I told them, they asked me what was the character's name, I called myself Black Licorice. They loved it. Yeah, they were feeling it.
Nice.
Signed my poster and everything. So
nice.
I
See, there we go.
Superman and Deacon Frost blessings. So you can't go wrong there.
That's a good duo.
Uh-oh.
What happened?
So my mom commented, she said, I will tell them, son. So my mom, say hi to my mom, everybody.
Hello, Donald's mom.
Hey,
how you
doing? She commented that she's going to tell my sisters that I told them that they're stupid for drawing on comic books. I guess, honestly, I'm okay with that, because look at this. They drew over his face, primarily.
Not Hannibal's face, but his face.
His face, and then these two, what's her name, and Face's face. Yeah. So, oh, hey, Mom. Enrique says hello as well. Mom and Dad, anyway. So, Black Licorice, guys, one of my choices on this. So, we're going to move on. I'm sorry to take up too much time. Kevin, go ahead on your, I think it's your final choice?
Yes.
Okay, go for it.
Real quick. I'm going Shiro Yoshida, also known as Sunfire.
Always loved that character.
Yes, he's another cool character with cool powers. Can use solar radiation to produce plasma blast. You know, has immunity to radiation. Can emit hunger-inducing light. And at one point, you know, back about 20 years ago during the 12 storyline, he took on the role as Famine, as one of Apocalypse's horsemen.
Yes, there was a whole big episode about that. I don't know if you remember, but Apocalypse, I think he took off his legs at one point.
Something happened. He lost his legs.
Yeah, he just had like stumps from the knees down. He didn't have any legs. Crazy. It's a crazy story, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, great character, Kevin. Great choice. Jarrett, yours?
Yeah, my final one, somebody I've talked about ad nauseum, probably like right up there with Fool Killer, who I love, because she's my favorite like new character. Miss Kamala Khan, aka Miss Marvel. A girl born in New Jersey who happens to be Muslim, and to me that character is when you're so interested in a character, kind of like you were talking about with the Chinese Superman character, like where you get interested in the culture that they're describing. To me, that's like the perfect combination of like you love the character, you also like, okay, what is this new? So, for instance, like her parents are Muslim, and they follow the religion. It doesn't make it threatening. It doesn't make it like weird. It makes it like they're a normal family who that's their religion. It's like no different than being Catholic or Christian or Jewish or anything like that. And yet they to me, I think for a lot of the audience, it's showing what a Muslim family, you know, an American like would be like, you know, like the dad wants her to be successful. The mom doesn't want her to get pregnant, kind of things that like are all things normal parents would worry about anyway, to show that, you know, her brother is much more dedicated to the religion. She's very like a teenager. She's like, I kind of want to do this. I don't like, there's some things I'm not into. Like it so normalizes
realistic.
Yeah. The religion and the lifestyle. She's also just such a cool character. She's an Inhuman. She can her body morph her whole body. You know, she calls it embiggening. I just think she's such a, to me, like I've said it a billion times, like she's the Spider-Man of this generation. Like she's, you know, she's a superhero who also has to balance her personal life. She's young. She's trying to do the right thing, doesn't always do it. You know, she's, you know, has relationships she's into, you know, it's just, she's such a well-rounded, likable character.
Isn't one of your daughters a fan too?
Yeah, my oldest daughter, Madeline, even dressed as her for Halloween once.
Nice.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
She also dressed as Maleficent once.
Yep.
At the con, yeah.
For an episode where we all went to Comic-Con. Yeah, Kevin, go ahead.
Yeah, but say we have footage. I don't say footage of that, but we did a little short of our trip to was it LA Comic-Con? Was it?
Yes.
Madeline came with us. Yeah.
Los Angeles Comic-Con. And Jarrett, what book was she looking for at that point? I can't remember.
Nova. Number
one,
yeah.
It was Madeline's quest to get Nova #1. So if anybody wants to check that out, it's on our YouTube page where you can watch. The Real Short Box goes to Los Angeles Comic-Con, and it's all about Madeline's hunt for Nova #1.
And we even did the Kids Corner with her too.
Yeah, yes we did. Yeah, we did Kids Corner as well. It was a lot of fun where she talked about books that she really liked as well. I've got one last one here real quick. And then I guess that'll be it for us, yeah?
Yeah. I'm all tapped out.
Here we go. And you guys can't see it, but I am going to talk about the Scarlet Beetle.
Oh, yes.
And not to pat everybody on the back or toot horns or anything, but Marique Marie Saint and I, and again, Louis Castillo, created a character called the Scarlet Beetle. That's Scarlett, just like when they created Dan Garrett, and they gave Garrett a Garett for the last name instead of Garret. A little aside.
Like Garrett, like a Jarrett. Who likes bacon?
Right. Yes, the bacon's still there. Just kind of a nod to Dan Garrett and to the original Blue Beetle that came out in the 30s, 1939, if I recall, just behind Superman. One of the oldest superheroes in existence, the Blue Beetle. Go figure. Now, I created this web series. I don't know if you guys know about it or have heard about it. It's called The Blue Beetle Ted Cord Returns. It's available on YouTube under Rumble Spoon Productions, so please check it out if you can. There's 4 seasons. 4th is the best, by the way. So if you skip one, I won't feel bad. I won't be hurt. But basically, we created this character. It is a mashup of Marik's ethnicity, which is Martinique with Ghanese, I believe. Kevin, correct me if I'm wrong.
From Guyana? It's like Guyana, Guyanese?
Yeah, French.
Yeah, French Guyana.
Yeah,
French Guyana.
just like a hodgepodge. In Indian as well.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, a very diverse ethnic character called the Scarlet Beetle that was created to show that you can create a great superhero. You can create a great character that doesn't have to be the whitest white that ever whited. You know, it can be something or someone of a different world, a different ethnicity, a different species. It doesn't matter. You're only constrained to the imagination in your own head. And that's the important part. Showing love for other things outside of yourself in your own, you know. If I only saw white people every single day all the time, first of all, I think I was in my hometown, but I would probably go out of my mind. Like, creatively speaking, comic books opened up a world to me that I never knew possible. Green Lantern, seeing a guy that's a giant fucking head floating around with little tiny arms and legs was the weirdest thing to me, but somehow it stuck with me in my mind that I remember that character so well because it was so memorable, because it was so diverse and so different. So rather than oppressing in pushing down these ideas and these characters and these people, let's celebrate that. Let's bring these characters to the forefront. Let's create more characters like this. Now, don't get me wrong. You don't have to kill off a Ted Cord in order to create a new character. You can create the new character and still have good old white boy Ted Cord. You know, good old vanilla white bread Ted Cord, so to speak. You can have a Barry Allen, but then you can have another character that celebrates the legacy of the Flash that might not be the same ethnic background. You know, that might not even come from the same planet. You can have that. And, you know, whether you do it in an Elseworlds title, a What If title, or regular canon title within that universe, it doesn't matter. The fact that you're getting this story out and you're telling these people that it's okay to celebrate this. It's okay to be a gay man that's a superhero that has a ring of power that can do whatever he wants and chooses to fight for truth and justice. That's great. That's okay. That's something that we want to celebrate here at the Real Short Box. Guys, go ahead if you have anything to say. We're basically just wrapping up right now at this point.
Oh, no, I was just going to bring up
said.
Captain Nazi. Is that not a Captain Nazi? Is not the character we're talking about today?
No.
Not that I recall.
No, not talking about Captain. There is a character, by the way, people, called Captain Nazi. Where are you going? Where's he going? Yeah, they still use him every now and then. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think it's an important thing to mention that, you know, that Nazis are so prevalent in our storytelling still to this day because it represents an oppression. It represents something that was so strongly adamant that they were correct in their worldviews that nothing else.
They were the best villains, period. It was the easiest villain to make. It was like, the Nazis. Punch them all.
Yeah. No one likes Nazis.
No. And on that note, I think that's going to do it for us.
Right.
We don't like Nazis.
We don't like
That's why
Nazis.
We're celebrating diversity.
Not a fan. So thank you, everybody that tuned in. Thank you for all your comments, everybody. We love you. We appreciate you very much here at the Real Short Box. We'll be doing more of these live podcasts. Hopefully next Monday we'll have another one for you. If not, the following for sure. And, I'm Donald, and right next to me is...
If it's me, then it must be Supreme Chancellor Kevin.
Yes, and right next to Kevin?
I pity the fools, and then I kill them. Fool killer Jarrett.
Yes.
There you go.
And I love you too, Mom. Thank you. Have a good night. And have a good night, everybody out there. Take care of yourselves. And hopefully, when you're out and about, we'll see you
at the luscious, righteous, sweet, lovely
bookshop.
Yeah.
Yes. Good night, everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.
Take care. Be safe out there.
Create your characters. Learn to love them.
Respect your elders.
Right. Loan me $5?
Yeah.
Especially Jarrett, you're turning 41 in a couple of weeks.
41.
You're getting old, man.